Hey guys, Wolfie here. This is chapters 3 and 4 of volume 8 for RWBY. As you guys have already been catching on by now, I'm doing a little bit more RWBY than default because I'm going where my views are. So I know I've been noticing I get more views for stuff like this as opposed to the City of Final Fantasy after Amiya. So like I said, just going where the views are. So, again, like I said, this is my overall take on chapters 3 and 4 for volume 8. Before I get into that, so there's a few things I want to announce. Again, this is more RWBY stuff. So, there is a Twitter post out and about as of, I believe, yesterday, stating that there's going to be an extended hiatus, the whole thing with this particular volume. So after chapter 7 is out, it's going to be going into an extended hiatus. It should be resuming early February. So I'm going to have my own video on that because it's one of those things where it's like knowing trends, all that stuff, and you have the ongoing pandemic. So it's a lot to take in, and I just want to make sure I do that video with as clear of a mind as possible, it get its own, video. Then what I'm also going to be doing to help, kill time during the break is basically just go over my thoughts on, the first half so far. Go bring in some other shows where they do this extended break of sorts, between for the full season, they split it in half, that sort of thing. So that one, I don't know when I should be doing both of those in January, so just a little heads up. And then another thing for chapters 5, 6, and 7 for volume 8, those are going to be getting their standalone videos. Because it's again, the whole thing regarding the extended hiatus, I just want to make sure those 3 chapters get their own video. So, like I said, I'm doing more RWBY than default because I'm simply going with where the views are, and I'm having a little more fun with RWBY than I am with default, so that's just me. So basically with chapters 3 and 4, it's more like, people, going away from whatever to do their own thing. Now, I do want to point out the whole thing with Ren in chapter 4. It's you're getting to see, who he really is, and it looks like he doesn't seem to be wanting to be a huntsman. Now, in my last video, I did mention the whole thing where the character Lyran being based on the literature version of Mulan, where, if you look at how she died in that source, she basically performed the Chinese equivalent of seppuku, and it's because she didn't want to live a certain way. And I'm thinking Ren's, in that moment, have that very ideology. And the whole thing with Yang, Menchie, RWBY, but the tone that really kind of caught my attention is I think she might be more concerned about Blake, but that's not a really healthy way of thinking in that regard. Because it's yeah, she's thinking about Blake, and again, the whole thing with Yang's selfishness. I do feel that when she said the RWBY, RWBY, or I'm trying to do it the best I can, so it's just when she said RWBY's name and the tone she had it, I do feel Yang is becoming more like Raven. And if you remember volume 4, where Tan Yang reveals that Raven was the reason why Team Stark's, fell apart completely. So I'm thinking Yang might be becoming more the person she didn't want to be, and that is Raven. And the more Yang goes on that path, she's going to become the reason why Team RWBY falls apart for the second time. Although the first time, it's some people may mention it's Blake, but yeah, it's And then, but again, the whole thing with volume 8, yeah, again, like I just said, if Yang goes down that path, becomes more and more like Raven, becoming more selfish, she's going to become the reason why RWBY falls apart as a team. And I kind of caught on. I really wasn't paying attention in the intro, but I think the intro kind of gave a little bit of a hint. Where, you have, and it's and by that, it's the weapons. Meaning that you have one still where it's you see here is that you have Ruby's weapon, Crescent Rose, and you have Weiss's weapon, Mirtanaster. You have those two in one still, then you have the second still, you have Gable Shroud and Emperor Celica in the second still, like in a cross formation. So you're having that. I do feel that RWBY is going to be splitting up again. And if Yang's selfishness becomes a bit of a factor here, I will not be surprised. Although there will be people who will be like, we should be having all them together, all that stuff. It's like, certain things don't work out that way. That's how certain aspects of fiction goes. Whether it be fictional anime characters, fictional cartoon characters, fictional live action characters, that sort of thing. It's just like, certain things don't work out the way you want it to. So, I do feel, and again, I'm using the intro as a bit of a hint, I do feel that RWBY will be splitting up again. And I just don't know if it's going to be this volume or volume 9. And again, just to reiterate, we don't know anything beyond volume 9, so that's that on that. So, the whole thing with volume 3, not volume 3, chapter 3, I'm a little tired, forgive me. So, the whole thing, with, Penny taking off at the end, I'm not surprised by that at all. And, I mean, like I said, I'm not revealing anything for chapter 5 because, again, I am a first member, but it's one of those things where I don't want to spoil things for those who are not first members. And I will say, though, it's like Volume 8 is doing a little bit better in varying aspects thus far as a whole, as opposed to Volume 7 and even more so than Volume 6. But I do feel the writing needs to be more consistent in order for RWBY to really save itself. But like I say, just to do a bit of a recap here, I'm going to check the time real quickly. Okay, looks like I do have a few more minutes before I do have to get ready for work. So just the whole thing with like Ren, it's just like we do know at the very end of chapter 4 is that Ren, being all like getting into the person he's based off of, we don't know if he wants to remain a huntsman or whatever, but I do hope that, somehow, someway he steps out of it. And Nora, I don't know if she's going to make a recovery or not, but I do feel that if she is dying in this volume, we do know the circumstances that led to it. Ironwood's going to be taking a lot of blame for this because, the whole thing with his plans, getting something from Penny and how Nora sustained that type of damage trying to, hit something with her hammer. So it's like, again, if Nora dies, Ironwood's not going to be in a good position. But I do feel that, in future chapters, it's like, the whole thing, the cracks are going to start to show on Salem's side of things. Because we do know that for Salem, she doesn't want Cinder to leave. But I don't think Cinder's going to be sticking around in Salem's faction for much longer. Because it's like, I think that Cinder's going to betray Salem. But for differing reasons. And I think this is going to be one of those volumes where it gives Team RWBY, a much bigger reason to topple Salem in the very end of it. But at the same time, in the end of the volume, I do feel that at least Nora or Ren is going to be, one of those two is going to be dying. And unfortunately, it's going to be one of those where RWBY and company obtains a major victory, but it comes at the price of Nora's life. Or alternatively, Ren somehow, someway no longer wants to be a huntsman and would rather die than continue that life. That sort of thing. So, like I said, so it's going to be, for volume 5, in the sense of when it becomes available to the public, I'm shooting for, tomorrow's going to be the 6th, so I'm shooting for the 13th to release that one for chapter 5 of volume 8. And I'm going to be doing that one every other week because, again, just to reiterate, We do know RWBY is going to go into an extended hiatus. I had some thoughts on that, but I want to make sure I do that video, with as clear and concise of a mind as possible. Then I'm going to be doing a separate video, where it's like, because of when Volume 7 becomes available to the public. And that way I can go over what I think about the volumes so far, what I want to see happen in the second half. And again, I'm shooting for January for both of those videos for the sole reason of my job, because unfortunately, it's one of those times of year where I actually have to be focused on my job because it's just so busy. And I just want to make sure, I have enough time to gather everything, get my thoughts together, and do just one clean take. So with that, like I said, I do have to get ready for work. So I should be posting this during my commute. We'll see. Gonna have to play this one by ear. And I just had to do a little check on my time so that way I don't lose track of time like I usually do. So with all that, just a super quick recap. I hope, certain things, become okay between Ren, Sean, and Yang, their faction. And then hopefully, we get more word on Nora if she makes a recovery, all that stuff. And regarding Penny, I wouldn't be surprised with what happens to her at the end of it all. At the end of it all. And I do feel Cinder's going to be betraying Salem big time. Because it's like, I don't really think Cinder's being sincere at all. And with Emerald, she's more or less like the one who blindly follows Cinder for the sake of it. We haven't really seen much on Mercury, so it's going to get really interesting on Salem's faction for the most part. So that's that on that. With Wolvie here signing off, I will catch you all on the flip side.